Or maybe that could be
Like,
one of those new speed datings. You see those speed dating memes? So if
there you
you're a
go.
prepper, and you're single and you want to know if you're going to find the right one, invite them on a date to do some canning. If they
There
say
you go.
yes, you're good to go. Like, you got one. If they say no, next. Or
Right.
if they say, what's canning? Next.
Right.
Speed. That's the new speed dating for preppers.
You know, from the last few episodes, definitely gardening, because that's peak in my life right now. We just had the last freeze, so it's time to go. But definitely, you know, I need to go buy more stuff for canning. I got a pressure cooker for my birthday, or
Oh,
pressure
wow.
canner for my birthday. So I'm like, oh, yes. So
Wait, you just
once
got
the
it then?
garden, hmm
Yeah, you just had.
I've
So
been,
everybody, Scott just had a birthday. Not going to say what day, but
yep.
he just had a birthday. Happy birthday to Scott.
Woo-woo. So, and I got some sweet shirts. I got a dad bod shirt for my son. Said it's not a dad bod, it's a father figure.
Nice.
Yeah, feeling
I
pretty
love
good
it.
about that. I'm like, okay, note, lose weight. You know, even the 3-year-old is pointing it out now.
It's your food
But
storage, bro.
it's my survival kit. So,
So
but
wait a minute.
that's
What
another
pressure?
topic that we need to talk about is
Yeah.
maintaining your health and fitness. You and Shane are doing a lot better job at that than I am lately. But I've been hitting the gym almost every day, doing a
Nice.
lot of cardio, trying to get my blood pressure down and my cardio limits up, so that, yeah, if I do need to walk away, I can walk away.
Yep.
But
And we're
right
gonna
now, I'm
have
like, I could walk away and sit down on the neighbor's, curb for a little bit and catch my breath and walk to the next house. I don't want to be
right.
that guy.
Nope. Yeah, we're gonna have a guy on here who he's an expert in fitness here in a couple weeks. But what pressure cooker did you
Mm-hmm.
get, dude? What pressure canner did you get? You remember?
Oh, I don't even remember the name on it. I'll have to go upstairs and look at it. I'll post some pictures in the group. But yeah, I'm
That's
stoked.
super
It's funny
cool.
because it's my mom gave it to me, and that reminds me of something else I'll bring up in a second. She gave it to me. She bought it years ago, and then it's just so big, and she's a tiny lady, so for her it was just like, it's just too much.
Uh-huh.
She's like, I had really good intentions, I never got to use it, and I've been acquiring stuff like that from her, because I'm like, I got a food dehydrator that way. She gave me one that she bought, and she had an extra, and she never used it, and so she's like, well, here, you can have it. And I'm like, Merry Christmas, like happy birthday, whatever, happy Tuesday,
Yeah.
whatever day she gave it to
Yeah.
me was a day to celebrate, because now I've got that and I can use it, and I do. And now I'm going to have the pressure canner, you know, ready to go. I'm going to study from all my favorite channels like Prepsteader. You
Yeah.
know, I'm going to learn better how to do this between now and the time it's time to do it. You know, I might even just go to the grocery store and buy a bunch of produce just so I can can it,
Yeah.
just so I can start learning, some meats, just
Practice.
so I can start canning it. Like the meats, for sure, you want a pressure can. Everyone I've talked to is like, yeah, pressure can those if you can. Rebel canning the meats is a little harder to do. They don't last as long, but you can still do it. But pressure can those is the thing that they're telling me. So I'm like, okay, people that do this all the time are the ones to listen to. People
Yeah.
who've never done it, like me, don't listen to me when it comes to canning right now, because I'm not the expert.
Exactly.
That's why we bring on the experts, because
Exactly.
they can explain it in a way that makes sense. Also in a truth platform of like, hey, this is how it's done. Don't
Mhm.
just go do something stupid you saw online once. Like, make sure that the source that you're going to is credible. And that's why we try to bring on the experts and also bring them into our group, so that everyone that's joining the group, not only
Can
do they
ask
get to
questions.
pal around with us, but they get experts in the group that they can ask questions to, and someone who's experienced with it's going to give you good answers.
Yep.
And that's the beautiful thing. So, I can't wait to get that running some more, because it's exciting.
You teased us that you were
So
going to tell us
exciting.
something in a minute. You remember
Oh,
what that?
I owe a public apology.
Oh.
I got reprimanded by both my parents, and I love them dearly. So if they're listening to this, they're gonna laugh, because I told them I'd do this. So a few episodes ago, I talked about tools and all the old tools my dad has. Well, some of the old tools my dad has, and he's like, they're not that old. And so they're not that old, everybody. I'm sorry. Also, the oldest tool that he had, that I said he had, this really old saw, it's already at my house. I've had it at my house for like a year, and I forgot that I have it at my house because it needs new handles. I've got this crosscut saw from my great grandfather.
Wow.
Then it went to my great grandfather. Then it went to my grandfather, and then it bypassed my dad and came straight to me. But it ended up in my dad's car or in truck, and then he transported it down. I thought he put it in his garage. I forgot he gave it to me directly, and it's in my garage waiting for me to put new handles on it. but it's a behemoth. And I'm like, I can take this and cut down big trees. What I want to do is hang it in my office behind me and just have it up there all the time, but it's too big for this wall.
Oh, wow.
Because I have like this little sunken back section. So getting the right tools, preserving those tools, maintaining the things that you have, so number one, sorry, Dad, I apologize for assuming you had that and that you've got older tools than you do. To me, they're better tools still. I mean, they still all work. Like I was in his garage the other day and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm like, the tools that I've bought, my first round of like tools, I'm going to DIY some stuff tools, like all those are broken.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of them. And I'm not even going to say the brand name, but it's like all of them are gone and like destroyed.
Shane shared the brand name in Shane shared the brand name in one of the episodes. So if you go back and listen to that one, you'll know which one. And every tool I bought from that thing, I don't have it anymore. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
So I haven't been doing this very long.
And now I'm buying other brands that have a better track record, and I'm trying to buy more older tools. So the older the tool, oftentimes the better. Yeah. Like they build in obsolescence in the stuff we have now. And so that's something I also learned in the last few weeks is how to apologize. Right. Nice. And then I also owe an apology to my mom about potatoes. She's like, you made it sound like you eat potatoes and that's all you got to eat every day. And I'm like, no. We ate potatoes all the time. And by all the time, I mean like 2 to 3 times a week. And she's like, no, we did not. And I'm like, so then I started going over dinners. I'm like, okay, we'd have baked potatoes usually on Sundays. Mm-hmm. Dad would make this potato and hot dog dinner, potatoes and onions. He'd saute them up in a pan, and then he'd add hot dogs at the last minute. And like as a kid, like that was one of my favorite meals. And I knew that would happen on Fridays. And they're like, don't make fun of us for this. I'm like, I'm not making fun of you. I'm like promoting this was good. It is. And they're like, oh, okay. And so like, it was just funny because they're giving me a really hard time because I give them a hard time. That's what you're supposed to do with family is like, oh yeah, especially your parents. Everybody laugh about it and move forward. But like, honestly, I wouldn't be prepared if I didn't have the parents I have. Totally. Like my mom took us to Utah when I was a kid and we got all these peaches and like, we had to plan our seating arrangements based on how the peaches were going to fit in the car. And then it felt like years, but it was only like a week or two after we got home canning peaches before school started. Like it was the end of the summer. And it was just like, we had peaches galore in our storage room. And we would get in trouble because we'd eat too many peaches too fast. Like, this is supposed to last a while. And we're like, but they taste so good. Like they were so good. Yeah. And so totally. I'm like, I need to get peach trees going. But you don't think about these things unless there's usually some kind of catalyst. And that's why this show is so important for people to subscribe to the show, listen to the show, watch the show, like whatever you need to do to set reminders for the show. If you turn on notifications on the podcast, it'll notify you every time we drop an episode. If you put notifications on YouTube, it'll notify you every time you drop an episode or a short video or any other content. Like turn those on so you can be aware of it and be ready for it. And that will help jog your memory and give you things to plan and to do. And we try to keep things as season specific as possible. So like if you're listening live, or not live, but within the week that we post it, this is usually stuff that's going to be stuff you can do right away. You can action item it right relevant, right? Relevant right away. Like with Buna, gardening, with Sid, gardening, it's super, super relevant. You know, understanding how to do your own compost and fertilizers and getting the right plant nutrients, super relevant right now. You know, we're going to have Dale from Fortress Clothing on again in the fall because it's going to be super, super relevant. Why? It gets cold. Yeah. It snows. We're going to have power outages. Like it just happens. And so having the right gear and talking to the right experts at the right time is going to be, I think for me, it's always been key, but I think it's going to get more and more pertinent as we see things tighten up more and more. I mean, right now there's what's going on in the world of like post-pandemic or current pandemic situations, right? What's going on in the world of emergencies in our daily lives right now? Well, there's some food shortages. We're expected more. There's definitely a shortage, and this one's impacting a lot of families. There's definitely a shortage on what? The baby food. Formula. Huge problem right now. And I was in Walmart just yesterday. I needed to get some distilled water because I use distilled water for like nasal cleanses
which is a fantastic thing. You guys, if you're ever in a cold or sick, and do a nasal wash cleanse, use distilled water though. But they had no distilled water for weeks at the grocery store I go to. So I went to Walmart and they had shelves of it, but just next door to the distilled water, the formula was completely empty. Like it was like a wasteland. It was crazy.
So that's why it's like, you've got to be cautious of what, or not cautious, aware of what's going on around you, because there's so many families that need it. And I've seen groups that are like, hey, if anyone has formula or knows where they can get formula, if you find an extra one, can you please ship it to so and so, because their baby will only eat this type of formula. So if you can find any of that, please let us know. The other ones make her sick. And it's like, oh my gosh, like it's hard enough as it is, but if we're working together and finding solutions together, paying attention to what's going on. So we've got this formula shortage. Some parts of the country in the United States, there's diesel shortages. They're limiting how much diesel you can pump. I'm like, oh my gosh, the truckers, how is that affecting the truckers? They're having to stop at all these different gas stations in a row in those cities, in those states where there's a shortage, because they can only pump 10 gallons each place they go.
Wow.
And these are things that I'm listening to and hearing on different channels that I listen to. Same thing with the supply chain of just regular goods that we're getting from like China, like all the electronics and all the microchips from Taiwan. Like the number of cargo ships coming out of there right now is like a 20th of what it was 3 years ago.
Wow.
They're just coming over that slow. And it's because we've put all these embargoes, right, and tariffs and everything else going on, that it's getting harder and harder to get certain things. And so knowing things are going to get tougher to get, now's the perfect time, if you haven't already gotten stuff, to get it. I took the opportunity this week. I did a live yesterday on TikTok, going through a lot of my preps that we bought 2-3 years ago and getting them reorganized and kind of showing people how we package it, how we store it, where it's stored, why we store it the way we do. I'm going to convert that to a YouTube video, but like, it got me thinking, okay, as we do other topics in the next few weeks, what are some things we should cover? And I think one of the most important things is keeping your preps organized.
Yeah.
Like Shane talked about, modularizing your go bag, modularizing your needs. So we've got stuff in a certain area of the house in case there's a nuclear issue. We've got our bags ready to go in 2 places in the house in case we can't get out one side, or we can't get to them due to a fire. So having multiple solutions is something that's right on my mind, right on the tip of my mind right now. That and gardening and canning, like those are kind of my big 3.
And every time somebody joins the group, we have questions that they can answer, like let us know where they are on their journey. And we're getting a lot of people that are brand new to this. And so that gives us the idea and where to focus. So a lot of the stuff content we're going to start, making sure that we help people understand those very first steps to how to be prepared, how to stay prepared, how to get ready and be ready, and just really build a life of self-reliance. For too long, we've relied on supply chains, and we've relied on grocery stores, and we've relied on everybody else, the whole system that we have that actually is a really good system when it's done properly. But and that's where bartering comes in. You get one guy that's excellent at doing tomatoes, another guy's excellent at doing corn, and they trade. And that's genuinely kind of what our system is built on, but it's way more advanced now, where you have dollar bills that you trade for those goods instead of knowing how to grow something yourself that you can trade. So we're just really working diligently to provide content that's relevant to what the people want to know. So if every comment that you make, we read it, we try to reply to it. So make comments in the description, pardon me, in the down below, make comments wherever you are. The description is where we have all of our links and everything else, but make comments, come and join our group, be a part of the conversation there. Tell us what you want to know, what you want to learn about. I'm really surprised and impressed with some of the people that are joining our group. Some of these people that are like, we have farms, we've been doing this for 20 years. I mean, we teach survival schools, we teach gardening schools. We've got Buna, we've got Sid, we've got a slew of a bunch of extra experts in there. And I'm just like, wow, I'm going to learn more from these people probably than they might learn from me. And so my skill was just gathering them together, Scott, right? Like that's one of the skills of creating events is the gathering together of these experts and bringing them together and helping them organize their skill sets so that they can then teach that to everybody else. And that's a skill set in and of itself. And that's where I think Prepper Talk Radio, we do have several skills ourselves, and we do know a lot ourselves, but also we're smart enough to realize that we don't know everything. and we get these experts in here that know more about certain areas